Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to another interview with the ENFP male. Today, I'm interviewing Jamie. So, Jamie, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, Jamie, can you tell us your full type, please?
So, Myers-Briggs type would be ISTJ, and my OP type is FM Si-Te BS.
I've never heard anyone say it that way. That's kind of interesting.
Well, if you want it, I'm a visual introverted sensor with extroverted thinking, and blast, sleep, play, consume.
All right. Thank you. So what did you think and how did you feel when you got your results back? I think you got it a while back.
Yeah, it was, I think it was like October or something like that. It was somewhere late summer, early fall last year. And I actually, my original self-type was pretty close. I self-typed as double feminine, NITE, blast, sleep, play, consume. I actually kind of shut down for really hard for about 2 weeks, but was kind of processing it for a good month and a half, just because I realized that I had savior double activated masculine TE, and that's something that I track, which I should have known. Hey, you're tracking this, that means something. But
yeah,
yeah, so like I was like, oh god, I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I do actually like Donald Trump, but like that masculine TE with the baby feminine FI, like, you went and bashed on the tribe, and then you acted like a total crybaby when somebody slapped you back.
Yeah.
And like, like, okay. So I had to like come to terms with that and say, okay, how do I want to respond to that? Yeah. But and it was I was starting to come around to the idea that I was savior sensing right before that, so that actually wasn't too bad. But I'm still like what is any I like
Well, okay, I'm gonna ask you this question because this one's a little bit more personal. So I have a lot of ISTJ friends, which makes sense because I'm an EP. Obviously, EPs and IJs become friends easily.
Yeah.
And one of my friend is definitely an ISTJ, double masculine, and he is like always shit talking to everyone. But then when you talk back to him, he gets so butthurt because the feminine FI, right? And I'm like, dude, you're dishing it, but you can't take it. Like, what's going on here? So I want to ask you about that since you brought it up first. You said you have the masculine TE with the feminine FI, and you said you're like banging people's heads all day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then like that, and then obviously if you're gonna bang people's head, they're gonna hit back, right? And then
yeah.
So can you talk about like what's going on there with like you're being aggressive, making fun of people, like talking shit, and then when people talk shit back to you, you're like, oh, like what's going on there for you?
So that's like, and the consume, like especially if you've got consume last in with that mix, it's a bad situation because yeah, you're sleep processing, but you're not really like taking in the varied reactions from the tribe. You're just taking in like what you see over and over. You're not seeing this here and this here and this here. So like it takes longer for the pattern to build for us to be like, hey, if I don't like it when people do that, maybe I should not be picking on them. And it's one thing, like you get better at you get better at figuring out like, okay, so if this person is in my FI, it's not, and I know that they like care about me and they have my interest at heart. If they say something to me and the rest of my day is fine, it's not gonna hurt that bad. I'm gonna laugh and be like, oh hey, yeah, I play the talking shit game too, it's fine.
Yeah.
But like but then someday, like sometimes it'll be like just a bad day, or I'm dealing with something that's just hitting me really hard, and what they say, they mean it offhanded, but it like ties into whatever I'm really like upset about.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll go crawl in a hole and die. Like,
The feminine FI is so entertaining.
It is bad.
So I guess it's like because consume is like self-awareness from an external perspective, right? So you have save your sleep, so you know what's going on inside, but you don't know what's going on like if you
Outside, no.
yeah, you don't know how you come across to people, especially when you're talking shit to them.
That was one thing. After I got my when I got my type back, Shan specifically said that I was very self-aware, and like I immediately was like, but you're not very aware of others.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a very kind, accurate compliment that backhandedly tells me what I'm really not good at.
Yeah. It's like a double decider compliment, because you can't
really
it can't be too nice. You have to make fun of them too, right? So okay, let's talk about your feminine FI. I noticed with feminine FI or feminine DI in general, like identity, you get people, you have more tendency to have identity crisis. I don't know, like, do you feel that way? Like you
like there is this sense of like, I wouldn't call it an identity, right now it's not a crisis. It's that might be the most accurate way to say it. So ever since at least like my teens, it's been like, it's like this feeling of, what's my purpose and blah, blah, the standard single observer problem. But then like, there's no sense of identity to like drive into that. So you literally like, especially if you have double activated masculine TE, you just go and bang on the fucking tribe's head. And you're like, so what do you think is really meaningful in life? And like you take a poll for like years and years and years and years, and you finally realize you're like, yeah, I'm not going to get anywhere by asking other people what what they think they should be doing in order to figure out what I think I should be doing. So like, and I've finally gotten to the point where I am able to like see what it is that I want and what role I want to be playing and not be embarrassed about it. But even with that, like, it's really hard for me to see that and push for it, because it's like, I'm still terrified that people are going to make fun of me. And I do end up trying to rationalize, because it's like, well, people are going to make fun of you no matter what. So you can either let them make fun of you while you do what you want to do, or you can let them make fun of you while you don't do what you want to do. Pick the winning option here. So
yeah. Yeah, it's like the saying, like, it's better to be you, because no matter what, someone's not gonna like you. So it just better be you, because it takes less
pretty
effort.
much.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're an IJ, you do have to accept that you are just not going to be as likable. Like IJs and EPs get along, and but like in the broad spectrum of things, oh God, there's I'm in a different position now at work where I don't have as much. Oh my freaking God. Sorry. I'm having like, I have cats and they're causing like serious chaos because I didn't put my things away when I came in. Anyway, they're trying to eat my bread. Yeah. Okay. So I work in a grocery store, and what I was doing before now, like sometimes I would help cover self-checkouts, and the guy that usually works over there is this big, super like just jolly EP little chaos monkey, and I love him to death. He's so great, and I actually miss working with him all the time. But he was just kind of like, whatever. And like, he didn't really follow the rules, and he would just make things work. And so like the customers just freaking loved him, right? Because he just tried to make everything easy and fun.
Yeah.
And then I get over there and I'm covering the thing, and people would like straight up telling me, I like Louis better. I'd be like, I like Louis better too. He's more fun. Like,
I like how you agree with the tribe.
I'm not gonna lie, he is more fun.
Yeah.
You know, if you got little kids, you know, and they have the choice between hanging out with me and, you know, organizing the sock drawer, or going and you know, running through a field and trying to see how many butterflies they can catch with Louie, they're gonna pick Louie every single time. So
Yeah. Well, even though you're an IJ and you're controlled, I do notice like IJs, especially those who are using play, NT play in your case,
yeah,
you're pretty good. From what I've seen, ISTJs in particular are really good at shit talking, especially with that NT play.
yeah,
And yours is double masculine. So
yeah.
I want to ask you about like that double masculine NT play that you used to, I guess, play with a tribe, shit talk with a tribe, you know.
Yeah, and like I was kind of conscious of this before I got typed, that like I knew that when I would like, I could feel when I was about to like try and play with somebody, because that's what shit talking is, play.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, um and I could tell that it was punchier than most people were comfortable with or used to. And some people, you know, will run with it and they'll like it, and then some people, like, I swear they look like they just got attacked. And
Can you give me an example of when they what you said that made them feel
oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so a few years ago I was taking some information science classes, and Ken Kwame was the head of that department, and he taught a couple of my classes, and I loved him to death. He was so great. He's total, I don't know, he's definitely savior OE, but anyway, and I'm also Southern, so like Southerners, if you met anybody from Texas, you know what kind of shit talking happens. And I'm from Arkansas, which is not far from there, so it's like it's cultural and it's personal for me, so it can be pretty strong. And so I was teasing him, and I made some kind of joke about him being lazy, and he looked so hurt, like he looked like a puppy dog that had just been kicked. And I just like felt so bad. I was like, oh no. But and I don't know if he knew how bad I felt, because I didn't, like, I totally acted like a single observer. I just like got really quiet and was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's like,
Do you think he was a decider if he got like butt hurt by your shit talking?
I think he is an EP.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Sometimes, every once in a while, it's hard to tell. He doesn't. EPs can be hard for me to type because they come across so much. Some EPs anyway come across so much more personably than what I think of as like your stereotypical single observer.
Yeah.
And IJ's like, you don't have that problem. You can spot an IJ, like. I guess some people might confuse them for IPs, but it, you know, he is really personable. No, he kind of, he's definitely got savior OE. That's all I know for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, you're also energy dominant, so you're going to be goofy. So shit talking, like aggressive shit talking plus goofy, is a disastrous combination. You know.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I have learned to watch, like, if I'm at that point, I didn't know anything about OP, and like now I'm a lot better about watching to see whether I think somebody's going to be info dom or energy dom, and if they're freaking out about people or things. So like and I've learned, like, because that way, you know, if I spot somebody, I'm like, oh man, obvious single decider, then I don't make jokes about their identity, because it's not gonna go well.
Yeah.
So,
You know, it gets it gets really weird with like decider sometimes. Like my sister is a decider. I think she's
Yeah.
an ENFJ. Like yesterday she came over for my birthday, and I was calling myself a douchebag to her, just for fun. Because you're double decider, you can make fun of others and yourself, right? So
Right.
like, yeah, I was like, I'm a douchebag. And then she like looks at me, like, you don't say that, you can't say that about yourself. You can't say self-deprecating things. You're gonna you're gonna hurt your self-esteem. I'm like, I feel fine. My self-esteem is not hurt. Like it's a joke. You know, He's like, no, it's
Right. Yeah.
not. It's like serious. I'm like, I don't even know how to talk. I don't know what to say to this person. It's so real to them that you can't make fun of yourself and other people,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, you know what? There is a slight observer side to that idea, which I saw Sadhguru do this, and he was like, you shouldn't talk bad about yourself, even if you're joking, just because like it messes with like how your mind thinks about yourself.
Yeah.
I kind of get, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's like
Yeah.
we'll take
Joe
that with a
Rogan
grain of salt, like to everything else. So it's fine.
didn't Joe Rogan destroy Sadhguru in his like latest podcast or something? Like,
Oh, come on. You can't.
because he was saying so many things that was like factually incorrect, and he was making shit up, like pulling it out of his ass, and like
Well, okay,
the
so
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, Joe Rogan and Sadhguru are totally like, I could see where Joe Rogan would kind of be tracking a lot of what Sadhguru like says and does.
Yeah.
And like for me, like Sadhguru, it's not about like whatever facts and figures he might throw out there to support what he's trying to say. That's not the point. So like so
Yeah.
I literally and part of this too is like, because I've got feminine sensory out to wazoo, and Joe Rogan does not. So like so like he's gonna get some facts wrong. Yeah, it's fine. And even though I'm responsible for the sensory, like what's actually real to me is the intuitive side of it, like the pattern. So I'm like, oh no, you know the pattern, right? He's good, he's fine. And and then Joe Rogan's gonna be like, yeah, but there aren't 200,000 people dying every day. It's actually 100,000 people, and but like that stuff is going to be more important to him, more real to him, and yeah, like I've heard him get specific facts wrong. One the example that I'm thinking of right now is he encourages people, when you first wake up, the first thing you should do is you should look at the ceiling and smile, because you woke up that day. And he says something like 1 million other people didn't wake up that day. And so I went, because I'm responsible for the sensory. I was like, how many people do die every day? And and it turns out it's roughly 100,000 every day. So it's not 1 million, but that doesn't change the meaning of what he said.
Right.
You still, it's still a lot of people, right? And then and you think, how many people those people knew that are sad about somebody that died. Did you look around? Did the few people that you really care about, did they wake up today? Yeah, if so, celebrate, because that's not going to be true every day. And the number of people that die every day, it doesn't matter. It literally does not matter to the point that he's making. And that's part of his savior intuition. He doesn't care. He's not responsible for the facts. I am responsible for the facts, but they're not real. So like so you get somebody with savior masculine sensory, and he's like, no, the facts are real, and that's all that matters. And sometimes it's one of those things where it's like you say that it's not a forest because somebody misidentified one of the trees.
Yeah.
So
I think it depends on the context. There's like a time and place for both. I find it a little bit more challenging sometimes to talk to lead SEs though, because they take everything you say at face value, when sometimes that's not what you mean. I'm like, that's not what I meant. Because like we're talking, like, even though you have any in the bottom, we can still understand each other really easily because we have the same function stack, right? So, but like it doesn't matter. Like I have SI in the bottom, I still get it. You know,
Right, yeah,
you have
yeah.
any in the bottom, you get it still. So, but it's like when you talk to like someone with SE, you know, I'm not shitting on them, but there is like a communication
Oh yeah,
barrier.
no. I
You know,
have a very good friend who is masculine SE at the top, and he drives me up the freaking wall. But I love him to death. But but people have made fun of me because I will nitpick about definitions of things.
your time zone, your
Oh
time
yeah,
zone,
well, yeah, the time zone thing, like
like
totally,
on Facebook.
or or colors, or total, anything like that. But he will like, he's an audio, and he nitpicks about the weirdest stuff, and I'm just like, okay. He'll nitpick about things that are actually inside my IJ box, like what words mean, and and I will like go and like slam him down with my double activated ST blast. And he's like, I'm pretty sure he has double masculine ST consume at the top. And so he can't really defend himself.
Oh, you
even,
mean
even if he knows better than I do, he can't defend himself because I will just blast over him.
it sounds like he's using his SE to piss off your SI, and then you're using your TE to destroy his TI.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
TE really, butt hurts the TIs, right? Just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
FE, just FE butt hurts our FI, right? So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he and I, most of the time we get along pretty good. Like the ST, he and I definitely both have ST at the top. We get along really well most of the time, but every once in a while, like it's like a house on fire. and we're laughing about it, but oh my God.
I want to ask you about people with FE and how they are revealing your FI constantly. You know, it's like you feel like vulnerable and exposed in a way with like FE people because they're tracking your emotions nonstop, which is very personal to us with FI. How
Yeah,
do you feel about that? Like, does it feel invasive to you, or like how does it feel?
so I'm pretty sure my mom is masculine FE at the top, and she and I have clashed since I was a child, and we still clash to this day. Um, and um, and so like I kind of, I don't want to talk too much shit about my mom. She's a very sweet person. She means well, but man, like it, she will do stuff to try to reinforce the bond, but she does it the wrong way, and it like pisses off my FI. And then the TE comes out and oh God, yeah, it's like a freaking bloodbath because anytime, even though it's both, or the masculine DE, it TE just beats the shit out of FE. So like, yeah, so like if it's like that, it's hard for things to be that much like that, because she and I have a close relationship. We've known each other that long, but that poorly used FE, which I do end up seeing sometimes, usually save your TI. That's actually where I end up running into clashes, because I don't treat me like a dog, and don't tell me good girl. That does not that's something I've literally observed. And then but at the same time, one of the women that I work with right now, she also has FE at the top. And I'm not certain whether it's masculine FE or feminine, but hers is so much better developed, and she actually managed to tackle her sincerity. And so in those cases, we still end up not seeing eye to eye, because invariably I will not respect the vibe, and I'll say something offhanded, and it's not meant that way, but it, like, as soon as I say it, like I can feel, because she's in my FI. I'm like, God dang it. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I actually, I have a ton of respect for well done FE. In part because I'm big into business. I like financial management, and you can make a lot more money if you manage your FE right. There's no get, FE is like probably the single biggest thing you need for sales. And I have tremendous respect for people who've really honed their FE.
Yeah, the FE is like the liar function. So I guess
I mean, it kind of, well,
yeah,
that
anything to make this, anything
it
to make
can
the
be.
sale.
It can be.
Yeah.
It just can't massage your feelings function, you know.
I think you know, like, okay, the FE person trying to make a sale, like that, I think that part doesn't really bother me that much. I'm like, okay, I know what you're up to. You're just like saying nice things. Eventually, you know, when your goal is to make a sale, obviously, you know, I'm not stupid, but
Right.
but I think what I don't like about FE is more from like a personal standpoint, like with like close family member, because like, you know, with you have FI and you have SF sleep, so like when you're feeling bad, you want your emotion to be resolved, so you want to find a conclusion yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or I guess if you work with a therapist, that also helps, but they don't, but people with FE, they don't want a resolution. They're just like, let bygones be bygones, forgive, forget, you know, let's sweep things under the rug and let's just be happy in the moment, which is like, there's like a big problem here, and you know, sweeping under the rug is just gonna make it worse, you know.
See,
So
that's the thing, like, I mean, they're different cognitively, like I liked how Dave and Chan had put it. Feeling is feeling is like it's the real thing. So like and it's easier for me to talk about FI. So like if FI you know, FI really wants to eat ice cream, then TE is basically hiding in the corner and pretending not to be eating ice cream. But that's or they come up with some like ridiculous justification that ice cream is actually good for them, or worse, good for the it's good for the tribe, it's good for the dairy farmers for me to eat ice cream. That's why I'm eating ice cream, right?
right,
So like
that's a good one.
so FE ends up having kind of the same problem, where like they're not being responsible for their TI. So, you know, what is my reason for doing this? You know, why am I trying to massage everyone's feelings? Why am I trying to control the vibe and all that? And so it's not like, how do I put it? FE as an aesthetic. I really appreciate that. Like when you're looking at a hospitality environment where you want like total SE, FE everywhere, right? Because you want it to be the best of the best. You have to recognize that the sensory and the feelings are on a scale, and you want the best. So like, you know, in that kind of context, FE is amazing. That's how you get things like Porsche. That's how you get things like Porsche, BMW, Apple. I actually hate Apple, but that is totally how you get Apple products. You know, these brands that people like have really strong feelings about because either they've managed their product or they've managed their marketing or whatever else. So I'm like that aspect of it. Like my TE is like, man, on point, good job, keep producing the numbers. I like that. So, but yeah, ultimately I just have SIFI, so I'm just like, oh well, it makes me happy. So
Yeah, the Apple thing's interesting because I don't know if it's a fluke or not, because the guy who created is an INTJ, right? And then the CEO right now is an INTP. So neither of them has SEFE, but they somehow pull it off. So it's kind of awesome.
There's Steve Jobs is an really, I mean, obviously massive asshole, and he pissed a lot of people off and all that. But like in terms of like the kind of bullshit he pulled and managed to get the results that he got, amazing leader, you know. Sometimes, yeah, you do have to ask people to do things they don't think they can do, because you don't know if you don't ask. And you don't know too if you don't put the pressure on him, which is why he came off as an asshole. I'm not justifying anything. I'm definitely not justifying anything. And then what's interesting, there's so many IPs in tech right now. And I've been doing customer service for a very long time, which probably sounds strange for an IJ, but
it doesn't actually.
But so I will say I play maybe a predictable but unique role in customer service. It's so I'm watching all of this AI develop, right? And or you know, and it's not very sophisticated AI at this point. You know, you've got your self checkouts and your self-driving mops and stuff like this. And I'm watching, and I'm like, this was obviously developed by an IP who has no skills in customer service, no soft skills whatsoever, because it will say things that people would get fired for if they did. Like
what?
like I was shopping. We have this there's a chain in this area called Menards, and it's like if you took Home Depot and you put a lumber yard outside, and then you also put like a mini grocery store inside. Like they have everything. So the store is like massive, like beyond Walmart Supercenter massive. And I'm looking at these pet beds, and the aisle I'm on is kind of narrow. And all of a sudden, one of these automated mops comes up, and it's going to come down the aisle, and there's not really room for me to move out of the way without me like feeling like I'm being defensive. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. So so I just stood there and watched it, and I was like, I was waiting to see if it was going to try and run me over, right? So because you know, sorry, my cats are being chaotic over here.
30 points if the mop runs you over. Just kidding.
Well, you know what? If the mop tried to hit me, I was gonna be like, you guys might need to reprogram this, because I'm real nice and I won't sue you, but somebody else will.
Yeah.
So but so it stopped, and apparently they've got some guy that's like watching this thing. And so I stopped and I looked at it, and it's just sitting there, and I was like, okay, cool, it's not gonna run me over. So I go back to like looking at the pet beds. I had like a milkshake. I like put the milkshake down. I'm like taking my time, and like, and this guy that's watching the self-guiding mop comes over. Or I'm sorry, I'm telling the story out of order. So the mop's sitting there, and I'm looking at stuff, and all of a sudden the thing honks at me. You know, beep beep. I'm like, oh hell! Like my hackles went up, and I was like, are we for real right now? Did this inanimate object just try to tell me to get out of its way? Like,
yeah.
And I was like, oh hell no. So I like pull out my camera and I start recording in case it does it again. I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna put this on social media. So like so I'm sitting there, and the guy that's been watching it, he like comes along, and he looked like he was about to say something until he realized I was recording. And then his mouth snapped shut. And I was like, he's gonna tell me some shit about this thing needing to do its job.
Yeah.
I guarantee this guy's an IP, right?
Yeah.
So like and so I'm just like sitting there. I'm like, I am definitely not budging now. Screw you guys. So like try to like my demon don't control me, bro, like totally came out. So I'm just taking my sweet time, I finally get done. I'm about ready to go. So I turn over and I said, "Hey, so how well does that horn work?" He goes, not very well, apparently. And I was like, it's like, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Good luck with that. So, but yeah, no. So there's stuff like that, or like, oh God, the these the point of sales, the card readers, they say, like, if there's a chip malfunction, the fact that it says chip malfunction, it like throws all of these people off because they think it's something that they are doing, because it, whoever programmed it subconsciously or consciously told them that it wasn't the machine's fault, it was the thing messing with the machine's fault, by saying it's a problem with the chip as opposed to the chip reader. Or, you know, they could have just said chip not read, but no, they said
It's not very
like,
TE, eh? It's not
yeah,
very TE.
yeah. So it's like, I'm like, okay, you know, you gotta walk people through it a little bit more. You have to be nice when you do it. The self checkouts, when they're turned off, if somebody tries to scan something, they go, "This checkout is closed." And it's like abrasive sounding. It's like, whoa, you can't you can't do this, guy. Like, you can't piss people off and expect them to keep giving you money. Like,
I kind of want to have a self checkout that insults me at like the end, after like I pay my money,
oh, kind of like what's the restaurant in Chicago where you go and all the wait staff like just insult you the whole way through? I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, but that's interesting.
Yeah, like it's a whole experience, and everyone who goes there, like, they expect it and they want to get insulted. That's
Yeah.
like you could totally have like a self checkout like that. Just
Well, Eminem started his own like fast like mom spaghetti, right? So apparently he'll like, I don't know, there's like I don't know if this is true or not, but like he'll stick his middle finger at you and like you pick up your food from the drive-through. But no one will get offended by that. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, Eminem just give me the finger,
right? Yeah. No, you can't be. If you're going to be offended by that, you wouldn't be going to that restaurant in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting there so that he will insult you, like you're together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
if you're offended by Eminem giving you the bird, you have no business being in there.
Yeah. Let's talk about your SF sleep. So it's double feminine.
Yeah.
This is your inner world, so it's interesting because it's in a savior state, so you're doing it all day as well as your reporter. And it's like what you personally value, and also like health routines and whatnot, like what makes you feel good, and processing your emotions. So can you talk about like what's going on there for you from like a double feminine like perspective?
Yeah, so it's totally one of those things where I totally just that is my fodder for most of my blasts. So like, God bless the people who actually like this stuff. So like I do yoga. So it sounds kind of funny because I have double activated ST at the top, but no, I do yoga. I'm actually into a lot of like holistic stuff. And so I do all this stuff, and then I go and blast the tribe. Oh, I break it down. It's like, oh, well, do this. You've got this pain in this part of your body. Well, then do this, and some of the people I work with absolutely love it, and then some people are like, okay, crazy hippie, and I'm like, I'm not a hippie. So
yeah, you're NF last. Your hippie
my
last.
NF is at the bottom.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, there's like, it's not, it's one of those things where you definitely start to realize that SI is not about physically organizing things all the time. Like my house is a disaster. In fact, I am like looking at like things just strewn around the floor right now, and you'll have a nice picture in the background, but that is coincidence. So well, it's not, I have a lot of plants in my house because I like having like kind of a homey, comfortable environment. And then the all of the chaos is not all of it. 90% of the chaos is cat related. And then and then a solid 10% is just me prioritizing other things, because that is what SI does, is it prioritizes, especially SF. So like and SF sleep, you really don't care that much usually about I'm amazed at these people who make these phenomenal organizational systems that look pretty. I don't understand how they can work, because functional systems don't look pretty. They or at least they don't look pretty until you put a cover over them. So
Yeah.
you can't see them anymore. And I, that putting the cover over it, like that's more getting into like SE and FE type stuff. And I don't do that. So so yeah, no, I am, I literally just in fact, I was doing my SF sleep routine right before this interview, as I was finishing up my workday, trying to figure out, okay, what am I working on this weekend? So what I was doing was categorizing the things that are most important for me to work on. So I need to finish my taxes, because I've got like, I don't know, a few $100 in refund coming back to me. And I actually need to make a will, because this is like finances are a huge thing for me. And I've put this off long enough. So I got to do that. And what was the other thing? Oh, God bless my heart. I didn't write them down. So, oh yeah. And I've got a course that I got to finish up, which ties into me trying to get into my my ideal blaster career, because I actually do want to become a coach. So, but
What kind of coach?
So I hate the term life coach, but that's kind of it. The training that I'm doing right now is for financial coaching. I'm not sure that I will limit myself strictly to that, because people will listen to me talk about financial coaching because I have the ST blast. But I think it's actually going to be more meaningful for me to tie in other things, to really kind of access the NF that I do, the SF that I do, and bring that into my coaching practice. And it's going to be more meaningful for me in my personal development, and it's going to be more meaningful for my clients, because I can help them kind of cater to whatever their demon functioning is.
So you're gonna use some OPS then for your coaching?
I use it by default, just interacting with everyone.
Yeah.
So it will definitely be part of my coaching. I probably will not try to explain it to my clients, at least not in OPS terms.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense to people.
Yeah, no, it's too confusing. And especially if they have any background with like Myers-Briggs or Jungian or anything like that, then they get super confused. And it's like, no, that's not what I want to do with my coaching time. So
Yeah.
but yeah, like as far as like analyzing people, and one of the things that I try to do is when I find a system that works as well, because the OP works phenomenally well, or in my experience it has, but you can't use jargon if you're wanting to help people with something besides understanding jargon. So I try to take the concepts and put them into easy to understand layman language, and say, I see, if I see someone, if I see someone with Saver FE and they're neglecting their reasons, I'll say, I'm really focused on managing the vibe of other people, but I don't think you're paying a lot of attention to what your reasons are for doing that. And so, just trying to find the common ground and say, this is what they'll understand, and give it to them in terms that they can identify with.
Speaking of you wanting to switch career, I want to ask you about your NF consume, the last one here. This is like the big elephant in the room. I have several questions. So let's start with the first obvious one, which is related to your career change. So one of the biggest problem with IJs, especially those with consume last, is they tend to stay at their career way too long when they should have moved on already to something else. And it's like the resistance to change, and maybe the lack of research that there is better opportunity for you that you could potentially that you would enjoy better and also make you more money. And also, like, I feel like the NF consume also updates that SF sleep. It like updates it. So if you don't have anything coming in, there's nothing that's updating it, right? I mean, I guess you can update it partially with play, but it's not the same as like a true consume. So
no, it's completely different.
So let's go with that first. So how have you seen that like NF consume, or the lack of it, like kind of cause trouble for you? And then when you did do a little bit of it, how did it positively help you?
So I've actually, I'll just kind of tell you how this whole thing developed, because it took me a while to really pin down what happened in my life. So I had forgotten, but when I was a teenager, what I really wanted, I didn't care what I did for a living. I just wanted to have money and be able to take that money and, spend it on people I cared about, or give it to good charities, things like that. That's all I wanted. And then, like a lot of people, I was around a lot of these, so there's some people who are going to take this the wrong way. If I lived in Saudi Arabia, would I be a feminist? Absolutely. But I don't live in Saudi Arabia. I live in the United States. And I'm not sure that there's a really strong case for feminism here any longer. At least there's certainly some issues with people acting under the name of feminism. We'll leave it at that. And I was, the idea was given to me that it was somehow less than to want to be like a housewife, or anything like that. Like it was reinforced to me that that I really should want a career and blah 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 blah. And I literally felt guilty for just wanting to have money and spend it well. And I spent decades really setting myself up for failure. I ended up working. The reason I've done so much customer service is I couldn't figure out what else to do. I went into retail, and for better or worse, I ended up working for Fortune 500 firms. And as I was there, my argument for staying there, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, okay, I'm here to learn how to make money. Fine. But I knew I didn't want to. I can't stand working for other people. Like I want to run my own business. I always knew I wanted to do my own thing. And so I came up with a million different ideas over the last couple decades here of different things I could do, and I get all excited and I build myself up, and then I would just like the brakes would just come on, and I'd be like, I can't do this because XYZ. The reasons I couldn't do it weren't really that important. It was, my sleep is putting the brakes on, saying you can't do this. And what was happening is, so I go into blast mode, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and you're like looking for like how to figuring it out, and just getting enough so you can like get on the road and get going, and that's great. And then when you have sleep second, what you do is you're going to sit there, and after you've done all this blast, you know, you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what's next? And that's when, because you're not really taking anything in, everything's one way, you're you're going to get stuck, because you're just going to run in circles in your own mind. And so, you know, then, you know, third, every once in a while, I would kind of like bang on the tribe a little bit and get some back and forth, but it wasn't enough. And so that absence of the consume, and like really genuinely being able to like take in what's going on around you in real time, and deciding, hey, I like this, I don't like this, I identify with this, I value this, that didn't start to sink in for me. I'm in my 40s now, and it didn't start to sink into me until just barely toward my late 30s. And I'm 42 going on 43 now. And it's just now to the point where I'm like, no, you have to get this shit figured out and do it, because you're not going to live forever. And so it's kind of funny. The course I'm taking right now was made by Consume Last. It's in fact, it's from Dave Ramsey. And while Dave and Shan were very cringed about doing his type, and I get that, but at the same time, I'm looking at him and I'm saying, okay, so this guy had a serious Consume Last problem that turned into a multi-million-dollar debt that he ended up having to file for bankruptcy over. And leave that alone. And what he did in response was he went to the library and read every single book on personal finance that he could. Like it scared him bad enough that he went and he got over his consume problem, his Consume Last problem, and he became an expert in personal finance and debt reduction, risk mitigation, and he saved your OE. So like, I mean, he really did a phenomenal job dealing with his Consume Last. So now I'm taking his course, and the reason I'm taking his course is that I don't need a certification to go into this kind of coaching. There's nothing required. I can go hang a shingle out there, but if I do that, I'm only going to be able to coach people from my personal experience. And my personal experience is pretty limited. While I I did follow his program, and I'm familiar with his program, and I became debt free, and I'm doing quite well. I do, sorry, I'm fighting with my cat here. I do need that outside information in order to truly provide a valuable service to my clients. And there's that part of me, the Savior Sleep, knows that. And that's why it's going to put on the brakes if I haven't done the consume. And so now that I'm forcing myself to get some training and get the information that I need to round myself out, I'm finding that I'm having less problems with my sleep, just like saying no. I'm actually getting somewhere with it.
Your consume is also NF. So
Yeah.
It's like when you consume something, it is related to meaning and purpose and what is like really important to someone. So do you find that when you talk to people, or if you read something, that you're more drawn into areas that has like I guess, like if let's say you're talking to someone, you want to get to know the real them, like you're really trying to understand like what drives them, like what is their meaning, their purpose, like what matters to them most. Or like if you're reading something, it's not so much like the ST that you care about, it's more like the journey of it, and like what the lessons were learned, and what is like the bigger picture
Right.
lesson
Yeah.
there, because it's NF, right? So do you find yourself doing that when you do practice that NF consume, or is that something that you?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like the stuff that I do consume, a part of, like, Dave Ramsey is he's outwardly very, obviously very ST. Um, but he actually ties in a lot, uh, with biblical concepts, and his uh-oh.
What happened to your video?
Okay, now, whoa. Okay. I am I think it said something that it thinks I'm driving for
Oh,
some
really?
reason, which is super weird. I'm sitting in my living room here. So,
Yeah. You're getting an observer issue live.
oh yeah, we're definitely having some kind of an observer issue here.
Yeah.
I can't fix it. So I'm gonna just leave
Yeah.
it. It is what it is. Um
Your video is
yeah.
dead.
Yeah. As long as you can still hear me, we'll hope that. Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
We'll wrap up the interview like this then.
But yeah, so like he does talk about wealth management from a biblical perspective, and he's actually done some pretty solid research in his Bible reading, um, and that's something like I actually I'm I hesitate to use the word Christian, but I am a follower of Christ, and I really enjoy using Blue Letter Bible, because you can actually go in and look at the original Greek and Hebrew, and yeah, so like it ties in really nicely with some of the existing NF, so it's, you know a more natural consume to sleep processing activity for me, because that's the only way it's gonna really sync, is if I tie it in with something else. But yeah, that I consume quite a bit of Sadhguru stuff, which, although he's technically NT, he does a ton of NF, um, just N in general. His N is double activated. Not to mention the general predisposition of South Indian for NF in general, but yeah, no, and then a lot of I've got a few friends who are into philosophy, and while I don't dive especially deep on philosophy, I do dabble, um, and so yeah, stuff related to the study of meaning, and stuff like that. I really do. Uh, when I can convince myself to consume, that's what I actually like doing.
I have a few more questions for you, Jamie, and we'll wrap up the interview, okay?
Yeah.
So one of them is NF consume again, and it's like my question is, with NF consume, you are gathering new experience for self, new information or new experience, and because it's NF, when you experience something new, do you feel like a sense of energy that comes to you where you have a more motivation, more inspiration? It's like almost like a fuel to live your life, and to move forward with life. Do you find that happens to you or not so much?
It's okay, so when there's something new, I'm sure you can hear the level of enthusiasm in my voice already. Uh, it's not that I hate new things. They do make me stop, and I have to think about, like, it's very slow. And so when there's something new that comes in, I'm like, oh, wait a second, what's that? And so there's this whole kind of like, it if it's something new and I can't tie it into anything that doesn't already exist in my mind, actually kind of get mad at it, and I if somebody else is trying to tell me about it, I will literally just say, look, I can't connect this to anything else I know about. I'm not going to remember. So just give up now. Um, and if it's related to something that I already know about, but it like upsets the little mind map that I've created,
Yeah.
that one, that's not as bad. There is that kind of like delayed reaction, like, oh, the new thing. But I sit there and sleep process it to death. And you know, and I do sit down and actually update everything, because then because my ST means that it has to work, right? I've got this double activated ST blast. And if it's something that I'm using all the time, which if it's in my box and I care about it and I know about it, then yeah, I do have to update it. Because I am ultimately responsible for that ST blast. So
What if it's like a travel, it's like you travel somewhere new?
but when it's new and it's related to something that's in my box, then initially it's just kind of like, it's not exciting. Initially it's like, are we sure this is real? Because then it's, you know, like you're like asking, do I really have to do all this work to like update everything right now? And so you kind of like poke around and you poke at it to see if it's real. And then if it's actually real, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of cool. Because then you then you get to sleep process everything and pretend that it's new again.
Yeah.
So like
Especially with feminine SI, I guess.
oh yeah. So you know, and feminine SI and masculine NE, you know, they're hand in hand. So like when you start picking out where it has to change, and then, you know, the masculine NE is like, oh, well, that relates to this and this and this and this and this, and then, you know, it's demon NE, so like, you know, at least half of those things are going to be wrong, but you get all excited about it anyway. So you know, there's so there's that, you know.
All right. So last two questions. I'm going to ask you about your sexual modalities.
Okay.
You are tester and or visual and tester. Let's talk about visual first.
Yeah.
How do you personally experience life being a visual?
You know what, I really thought that I was double feminine, and I thought that because how do I like there I don't know, I feel like some visual people are probably more visual than I am, because like I don't really think in pictures or anything like that. I don't think in words either. You know, it's just this. It My thinking process is actually that double masculine NT, and so it's like waves and concepts. But there is like the visual tester element, that like that combination is real. I know they've got these studies out there that allegedly the learning modality isn't that important. Well, that's bullshit. um, if if somebody is telling me, you know, once they get to three things, if I am not focused, you know, if I'm not worrying about something else that I need to do, three things I can usually manage. Okay, we get beyond that, no, absolutely not. I need to write it down. And I don't have to necessarily carry the list with me all the time, because I will remember the act of writing it down. So that tester aspect is definitely there. And then the visual part of it, I'm still kind of mystified at how I ended up a visual, because I literally like, I don't remember what people look like, or like to the point that people have joked with me. So if you saw a bank getting robbed and you were the only one that saw it, the person would get away, right? And yeah, it would. Um, yeah, the visual modality is kind of confusing to me. And I'm not really, I'm not really sure how it applies to me, other than it applies in the sense that it's not audio. I would, if I am consuming information, I would absolutely rather read text than listen to something, because if I listen to something, it's going to go in one ear and out the other, and I can't take notes fast enough to catch all of the audio. If I read something, I retain it better. I'm going to go through it faster than people talk. So there's that aspect of it. I can identify with that part of it.
Do you relate to the tester modality more, like the smell and taste and whatnot?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I don't know if that's tester or if that's just my Savior sensory. But yeah, I'm like, I do all of the spices I have ever owned, I have tried by themselves. I taste things, I touch things, I like and you know, I like to know what things taste like on their own, because it gives me a better, like a mental map of what the flavors are and how they're going to blend. Oh my God, my cats are trying to eat me alive. like not joking, like they're like biting me, trying to get me to feed them. So anyway, sorry.
We're almost done anyways.
Okay. Don't eat my bread and stop eating me.
They've turned on the human.
Yeah. Like, hey, put us off long enough here. But yeah, the tester modality was, it still is very, very evident to me. I'll do stuff like, it's fun to like have all the lights off and see if I can like navigate my house without being able to see anything, you know, just weird shit like that. So
All right, Jamie, we'll wrap it up here before the cat eats you. So thanks for coming out and sharing more about your life as your specific type. And you know, it's kind of funny. I think you're like almost like in an NE swing right now, because you're in a chaotic, you're kind of chaotic right now. But it could also be because you're in your 40s. So, you know,
yeah,
if you know,
yeah,
people tend to get sick of their first function as they get older, you know. All right, so we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you in the upcoming panel interview.
all right, sounds good. Thanks for having me, Kendrick. I
Take
appreciate
care.
it. You too. Bye.